Hi all, so welcome to the today's tutorial. So in previous tutorials what we have done, we have created our character. He can move and he can look here and there. So today we will create a component in which we will attach the gun. So one of the simplest tasks which we can do, you can go to the character. If you see through the blueprint how we can do, we can just click left while selecting the mesh. We will select the skeleton mesh component. So this is the skeleton mesh component, and here we can choose our gun, which is sk underscore fp gun, and we will attach it to some. Give me a second. I think we have to attach it to the bone, in which you can see here we have a packet parent socket, so we can attach it anywhere. So if you will check for the hand, we can see in its bone hierarchy, right? We can attach this to the IK handgun. We have different assets. We can attach it anywhere. So this is our today's task. So we'll do it through C++. First, we have to create the component. So one thing what we can do, we will create this component inside C++. So go to the C++ class in the zombie killer. We will create one more folder called components, and it will be the subclass of static skeleton mesh component. As we already know that gun is we will attach it to the skeleton mesh component. So just click next, and here we will create one more folder called components, as we will create multiple components. We will use the naming convention skc for skeleton mesh component. This is gun, so we will name it as skc underscore gun. Just click create class. We can also prefix m, as we are already doing that with our other classes. Just create class. Let me shift it here. Okay, it's up and running. Make sure in C++ class that folder is gone, or else it will give us an error. Okay, it is done. So in that component, we already know that we have to attach a mesh, so we will do that. First, go to the zombie killer. We will check where is that asset. I think it's in the weapon. This is the weapon. Right click, copy the reference path, and here we will create some variables. So public, we need to have that skeleton mesh. So what we will do, we will have a pointer. So you property, edit anywhere, the soft object pointer. This will be new, so I will explain this in a second. You skeleton mesh, and we will name it as sm underscore gun. I will explain this soft object pointer in a second. Alt O, and what I will do here. Okay, first we have to declare some functions, then we can do that. I will declare one more section under public only, because I always keep my variables and functions in separate modules. So public, I'm just keeping it separate. So we need to call constructor. We already know the concept of constructor. Alt enter, general definition, and here what we will do, here we will create sm underscore gun is equals to cast static skeletal mesh, use skeleton mesh. Use skeletal mesh and static load object. This we have already done, if I'm not wrong. If you will go to that character class, I will just copy paste everything just to make it faster. So what I will do, I will copy paste it. Okay, but here our reference was our mannequin, but in our case we have our gun, so we'll do that. Right click, copy a reference, and we'll load it here. Okay, so what it will do, it will copy the reference, it will have that reference from that content browser, and it will store this under this variable. So the difference between we can also write like this, it will also work, but the only difference between this and TSoftObjectPointer is it will not load the static mesh at the time of, like in previous what we were doing here in the character thing, we are loading then and there only. But if we don't, if we will use a soft object pointer, we are telling it, okay, we will use this mesh but don't load it in the memory yet, we will do it in the future. So but in our case we have to do that in the attachment, or maybe we will do it in the begin play. So what we will do, uh, yes, so we will do it in the begin play. So let me have one more section called protected, and virtual void begin play, alt enter. What we will do now, we will load that, load synchronous. So we are loading this object now, and we will store it. So I can cast. So as soon as it is loaded, I will store it in this component, as this its parent is the skeleton mesh component, so it has a function of set static mesh, set skeleton mesh. So what we will do, we will do set skeleton mesh, and we will do sm gun dot load synchronous, and it will do the task. And one more thing, we can also check if it is valid or not. I think we haven't created the details class, so what we will do, we will check if this thing is valid or not. If it is, then this okay, else we will have the log sm gun is not loaded yet. Sorry, no, not here. Log temp warning text, and it will load our guns. So the only difference, so what we will do, we are checking, we are loading and checking if it is successfully loaded or not. So let's imagine it won't load again in the second call, because right now when this will execute this line, it will load the object into the memory. So here it won't take that time again. It will directly use that address, and it will put it inside this skeleton mesh, and we are setting this, and this is what we are doing. This is in the begin play. Next thing which we have to do is to have some shooting mechanism inside gun, right? So we have to do some action. So inside the character base, if you remember, we have added the input mapping context and the input action. We will do the same. So I'm just copy pasting it inside SKC gun. So what we will do, we will copy paste that the same thing inside the public, and we'll use a different name, gun, and IA shoot, and we have to fetch those values again, and we have to load that too inside here, right? So but for that I won't use the soft pointer, I will use direct one because it's just a file. So what we will do in the character, alt O, I will copy paste these two line, we'll go to that gun again, we'll paste it, we'll update the variable's name, shoot. Okay, make sure that we are including it is giving us error, okay, this class is incomplete. It wants to have the class name, so we have to copy paste the input mapping context in the header file. Let's do that. Okay, now that error is gone. Perfect. Now the next thing is the path which is here, it is for the character. We have to add the new path. We haven't created the input context for the shooting yet, so let's do that. Content, let's check if we do have, this is for the weapon. I think we already have it. This is perfect. So right click, copy reference, and we'll paste it here. And next thing for the shoot, we have to add the input action. In the action we have for shoot 2, so copy reference, paste it here. So now we have the reference. Now the only difference is in the character class. If you will look carefully, we had one function called setup player input component, which is already defined, and we are overriding this function, right? But in our case, now SKC gun is the component. It doesn't have the setup player input component. So what we will do, so if you will look carefully inside the character class, there is already a variable of uInput component. So we will use that. So let's see how we can do that. So in begin play, first we will check who's the owner. So we haven't created any variable yet. So for that, what we will do, I will have a variable. I'm thinking, okay. I'm just thinking how I should do it. Okay, so let's do it this way. A character, because this is the static mesh component, right? This gun, it will always be the static mesh component, and we will attach this component to our character. Nobody else will use it. So I'm quite sure that character will be its owner. So what I will do, I am just owner character is equals to get owner, and I will cast it to a character. Okay, this is again giving us that error, so I am including its definition. So you can see now we have the character header file. Now we do have it. Now next thing, I will check if this is valid or not. If not, then we will write a log. And if you are looking carefully, what we are doing, we are repeating our code, right? We are checking again and again if the pointer is valid or not, and we are writing a statement. So what we will do, we will create one class, a util class, so we don't have to define our function again and again. So it's a good practice to have a utils class. So we will do that. But here, first I'm checking if it is valid. If it is valid, then I will do the same thing which we did in the character class. So first thing is to add this mapping context. So we will use the same thing here. I will add the mapping context. So just click and add this header class. Yes. For this, we need to have the player controller. So to have the player controller, what I will do, we will use the controller from owner character. So owner character dot get controller, and we will cast it to, I will explain this in a minute. Cast it to a player controller, this get local player. Perfect. So what we are doing it here, we need to have the local player, and local player, so player controller does have the reference of local player. You're getting me? So this, give me a second, let me explain. Perfect. So the player controller does have the definition of local player, and to have the local player, what we are doing, we are getting our character, that what is your controller, and we know, like, if we are controlling the character, then it's a player controller. So if we are casting it to the player controller, then we are getting the local player. Okay. Next thing is to add the context. So imc gun, and as soon as we have add that mapping, we are done. Next thing is to have the shooting mechanism. We haven't added that yet. So again, go to that character base, go to setup input component, and we will copy these two lines. We'll come back here in the begin play of skc gun, and after this, after adding mapping context, we will copy paste this. Okay, so here we don't have the player input component, but the character has its own character dot input component. So character already have this input component, so we will use that. Okay, am character. Okay, perfect. Next is IA gun. I think it was IA gun. IA shoot, sorry. So it is IA shoot. Okay. Now, but in this case, we have to define our new function. Like on what function we need to map this binding. So I think I will name it as on shoot. Alt enter. I will choose third option, but it's click, like if you will go to this IA shoot, it's a digital, it's a bowl, so I don't think we require any on shoot. So I don't think we need this function because it will be 0 in our case, but okay, let's do it. So on shoot, again alt enter, generate definition. So here what we will do, I will for now I will just use the UI log temp warning text, I am pressing shoot button. Okay, perfect. I think we are done. We are loading fine, we are shooting, and everything is good. Okay, in else part, let me add one log. Oh no, character is not valid. Perfect. Let me compile this. Let's check if it is working or not. Perfect. Go to this character base, go to that mesh, add MSK Okay, that component is not showing here. Maybe first we need to create the blueprint variant. Let me do that. So skc gun, yes, it is coming here. So bp skc gun. This is just for testing. We won't do it this way. Now again go to that base, add vp skc gun. Okay, in our case it is not coming because we are not loading it here. As soon as we will attach this component, this function will run, but begin play will not run. So the attachment, the skeleton mesh will not be shown here. Just compile and save and let's check. Yep, that gun is here. Perfectly fine. And it was just for testing. We won't use this way. So I just wanted to show, okay, the code is working fine and we have done some attachment to do. So this was it for today. If you like this tutorial, do like and subscribe. If you have some doubt and like if there is some point you are unable to understand, just comment it below. I will try my best to sort it out as soon as possible. Thank you and have a nice day.